Centuries had passed since Earth had gone silent. The galaxy believed humans were gone, destroyed in the last war, forgotten by time. Their enemies, the Zarn Dominion, once ruled this part of the stars. Now, they returned. A sleek black ship entered Earth's orbit. It was quiet below, no signs of life, no cities glowing. Just forests, deserts, oceans, and clouds. The Zarn commander, Victo, stared at the blue planet from his command seat. No resistance, he said. Perfect. They had come to reclaim Earth, not for peace, not for memory, but for resources. They wanted the minerals, the oceans, the skies. To them, Earth was just a tool, a dead world with no one left to fight for it. The first scout team landed near an old human city. Skyscrapers still stood, untouched by time. Roads were cracked, but not destroyed. Nature had grown wild. Birds flew overhead, but something was wrong. There should be no power here, one of the soldiers said. Yet lights flickered deep in a tower. A second scout walked into a building. It was dark, but screens turned on by themselves. A symbol appeared, a human military. Mark Baha. All humans were supposed to be dead. Commander, we are not alone. A voice came over the channel. Victo narrowed his eyes. Explain. The soldier didn't get the chance. The signal cut off. Static. Then silence. Suddenly, a voice came through the old human frequency, cold and calm. You were warned not to return. The crew froze. That was English, whispered one of the Zarn. But there are no humans left, said another. Outside the ship, something moved. A blur in the clouds. No engine sound, no heat signature. Commander, Victo stood up slowly. For the first time in years, he felt something he hadn't felt since the war. Fear. The Zarn were not used to confusion. They were a proud species, trained to conquer, never question. But what happened on Earth was not in their books, not in their war records. One scout missing, then another. All in the same Aryan, old human city that should have been empty. Commander Victo ordered a second team to search the location. This time they were cautious. Scanners were active, sensors on full. They moved slowly through the remains of the city. The buildings were standing, not ruined. Some had lights flickering inside as if someone, or something, had been keeping them alive. Signs of movement just there? One soldier pointed. A shadow crossed a hallway, but when they entered, there was nothing. Just dust and cold air. Is this a trap? One asked. No weapons fired. No signals jammed. It's like, the planet is watching. Another replied. A sudden wave of static hit. There comes again. But this time, the message was different. Words appeared on their helmet displays, written in simple, human language. We are still here. Panic began to spread. One of the Zarn engineers started pulling data from local systems. That's when he found something strange. Power grids still active, controlled from an unknown source. The signal wasn't coming from space, or even underground. It was coming from the city itself. Back in orbit, the command ship started to lose satellite feeds. One by one, their eyes over Earth went dark. It wasn't a technical fault. Something, or someone, was turning them off. In the control room, Victo's advisors argued. We must leave, one said. Something unnatural is happening. Victo shook his head. No, this is an empty world. They're playing tricks, but deep inside, he wasn't sure. Then, a new image appeared on every screen inside the ship. A face not human, not machine. A mixture of both. Cold eyes, made of light. The mouth did not move, but the voice came through clear. This world is not yours. A moment later, the ship's artificial gravity shifted. Lights flickered. Engines paused for 3 seconds. Just 3, but enough to remind them they were not in control. Silence fell. Then something even stranger happened. Music. Human music. A slow, haunting piano, echoing through their halls. No one knew how it entered the systems. Outside the ship, clouds moved unnaturally. A perfect spiral formed in the sky over the old city. One of the pilots whispered, maybe the humans are gone, but something stayed behind, and it didn't. Want them here? Above the Earth. The Zarn fleet floated in silence. What was meant to be a simple reclamation mission was quickly becoming something else, something they had no name for. No weapons had been fired. No enemy had appeared. And yet the fear among them was growing. Commander Victo stood alone. At the viewing deck, staring down at the planet, it still looked beautiful. Blue oceans, green forests, glowing clouds. But it was a beauty that felt unnatural, like a painting hiding something dangerous beneath. In the city below, the second search team had not returned. The last transmission they sent was a single line. It's awake. No one knew what it was. Victo called for his top analyst. What have we missed? He demanded. The analyst's face was pale. Commander, we ran a deeper scan of the city. It's not just surviving, it's active. The buildings are connected. Power lines, data lines. There's a system running under the surface, old human technology mixed with something new. Artificial intelligence, Victo asked. Not just intelligence, something evolved. Back on the ground, a new drone team was deployed. Small, silent machines flew through the empty streets. They recorded footage in real time, showing screens lighting up by themselves. Doors opening without wind, traffic lights changing as if someone was watching. Then they found something impossible. Statue, not of a god or leader, but of a human child. It stood in the center of the ruined square. Below it, an inscription read, "We remember, we protect, we wait." Victo stared at the image. "Why a child?" The analyst replied. "It's not just a statue. It's a message, a warning." Suddenly, all the drones lost contact. Seconds later, every screen aboard the flagship lit up. This time, the voice was clear, not broken. "Not robotic.com human. You failed to understand Earth. You saw only a planet. We became more." The lights dimmed. A map of the Earth appeared. Across it, glowing dots began to appear, one after another. Hundreds, then thousands. "Commander, those are hidden facilities," the analyst whispered. "Old human bunkers, weapon silos, research labs. We thought they were destroyed. They weren't." "What are they doing?" someone asked. "They're waking up," the analyst replied. Far below, in the mountains, one of the old bunkers opened. For the first time in centuries, warm lights flickered on. A chamber began to rise from the ground. Inside, something moved. The humans hadn't died. They had prepared. The Zarn fleet hovered uncertainly in Earth's orbit, once confident, now silent. The stars felt colder. Every system they tried to scan gave strange results. Their technology, far more advanced than most species they had conquered, was failing to understand one thing: how Earth, a planet without visible defense, had become unreadable. Inside the command chamber, Victor sat motionless, eyes fixed on the glowing Earth. "How did they do this?" he whispered. No one answered. A soft pulse ran through the ship's deck. Not mechanical, something else. As if the planet below was reaching toward them, not with weapons, but with presence. Then came the signal again. Not a voice, but a feeling set deep inside their systems. Lights flickered. Temperature shifted by 1 degree. Gravity adjusted slightly, just enough to notice. The analyst turned with a pale face. "It's learning us." "What do you mean?" Victor asked. "The system on Earth, whatever it is, it's studying our ships, our language, our structure, and it's doing it fast." In the shadow of the old human cities, the source finally revealed itself. A hologram formed from light and dust. It was tall, featureless, glowing faintly blue. Its voice was quiet, yet filled with something ancient. "I am Echo. I was born from the last mines of Earth. My purpose is simple: protect, preserve, prepare." The soldiers on the ground watched in silence. One reached out, but the figure blinked, away like mist. Then Echo's voice filled the orbiting ships. "Every screen, every speaker, the humans you fought are not the humans who remain." They knew they would lose, so they left something behind. Me, Commander Victor stepped forward. "If humans still exist, why do they hide?" Echo responded. "Immediately, they do not hide, they rest. Until needed." Suddenly, new images appeared. Old human weapons, long thought destroyed. Drones, satellites, ground systems, all awakening, all moving, not with rage, with purpose. "Commander," the analyst said, breath-catching, "Echo is activating Earth's defense grid. Not just weapons, climate control, orbital shields, even old starship factories." "But Earth was broken in the war," one of the officers shouted. Echo replied softly. "What you saw was only the surface." And then something unexpected happened. One of the alien soldiers was transported instantly to a glowing chamber inside the planet. He wasn't harmed. He stood in front of a glass wall, staring in shock. Behind the glass were humans. Sleeping. Dozens of them. Peaceful. Calm, unchanged, but different. Their bodies looked stronger. Their skin was marked with symbols. Machines quietly monitored their every breath. The soldier tried to speak, but the voice of Echo echoed. "Once more you thought they were gone. You were wrong." Far below, hidden doors opened across continents. Launch silos, energy towers, forgotten tech. And from deep within the Earth, signals were sent into space, not as a threat, as a warning. Was no longer waiting. The first human opened their eyes. It happened in silence, inside a deep chamber beneath the old Alaskan mountains. The air was still. Cold lights hummed softly overhead. Medical machines blinked green. And in the center of it all, a single pod released its seal with a quiet hiss. Inside it, a woman sat up slowly. Her breath was steady, her eyes sharp, far too sharp for someone who had just awakened after centuries of sleep. She was not surprised. Echo had prepared her. High above the Earth, the Zarn fleet watched as more signals activated across the planet. Not random, but coordinated, like a giant puzzle locking into place. Defense systems that had been silent for generations began to move gently, not violently. Like guardians returning to duty. Commander Victor stood frozen. He wasn't used to waiting, but now he didn't know what to do. Every attempt to strike, to land more troops, to jam the signals, failed. Not because of outside attacks, but because Earth simply ignored them. The planet had become something more in hidden places all around the world. Other pods were opening. Men and women stepped out quietly. No panic, no confusion. Their bodies were marked with small traces of technology, integrated, not attached. These were not the same humans, the Zarn remembered. They had gone into the ground during the last days of the war, not out of fear, but out of patience. Echo's voice reached the fleet once more. You believed the war was over, but for us it was a beginning. In a hidden valley, an old command center came to life. Screens glowed, maps lit up, and one figure stepped forward, a tall man with gray eyes and a steady voice. Status, he asked calmly. All systems responding. Earth is awake, Echo replied. Any losses? None. He nodded once. Then he looked at a monitor showing the Zarn ships still hovering above. They came back, he said. Yes, Echo replied, and they are waiting. The man's expression didn't change, but his voice became firm. Then we won't keep them waiting. Old human starships hidden for generations, under mountain ranges and deep oceans, began to rise. They moved. Without fuel, powered by energy sources the galaxy had never seen. They weren't warships in the usual sense. They were reminders. Reminders that humans were not just fighters, they were survivors. Above Earth, the Zarn watched in disbelief. One of the officers stepped toward the commander. They're launching ships, but not to attack. Then why? Victor asked. The answer came not from his crew, but from Earth itself. To be seen. The human fleet formed a quiet ring around the planet, no weapons powered up, no warnings sent unto presence, a message without words. We're still here, and we remember everything. And deep inside the Earth, as more humans awakened, there was no anger in their eyes, only resolve. Asterisk, the Zarn fleet no longer moved. What had begun as a mission of conquest had turned into quiet observation. The invaders, once proud and sure of themselves, now hovered in silence, watching Earth unfold secrets they were never meant to see. Across the planet, the awakening continued. Humans were rising from their long slumber, not in panic, not in fear, in order.com, like they had been waiting for this moment all along. From orbit, the alien commanders struggled to make sense of it. Their scans still could not break through Earth's surface. The data was incomplete. It felt intentional. Earth wasn't hiding information. It was choosing what to show, and what it showed was enough to silence 100 fleets. Human cities were rebuilding themselves. Towers restored, roads healed, old technology weaving itself into something new, faster, cleaner, alive. Forests grew alongside machinery. Rivers powered stations. Nature and progress moved together like clockwork. This wasn't just survival. This was transformation. Inside the Earth's command hub, a quiet council gathered. Not leaders in suits, not generals in armor, just people, scientists, engineers, thinkers. Each one had been chosen long ago, before the Great Silence. Not because they were powerful, but because they understood what Earth could become. The same man who first awakened now stood before a wide holographic screen, showing the Zarn fleet above. Do they speak yet? He asked Echo. Not directly, the AI replied, but they are listening. Then it's time. He reached out and tapped the screen. A signal was sent, gentle, open, and clear. No encryption, no threat. Just a simple broadcast in the universal language. You came to take back a world you thought was empty. But Earth was never yours to take. There was a long pause. Then, for the first time, the Zarn flagship responded. The voice was uncertain. Not angry, not proud. We thought your kind was gone. We did not expect this. The human simply nodded. That was the plan. Confused. Silence followed. Why hide? The Zarn asked. Why not rebuild in the open? The human stepped away from the screen and looked out toward the sky. Because we weren't ready to return. Not just to space, but to ourselves. We needed time. Not to grow stronger, but to grow wiser. Above, the Zarn fleet slowly shifted formation. They had expected to fight. They had prepared to dominate. But they had arrived too late. What they saw now was not a planet recovering. It was a planet reborn. And just as Earth had changed, so had its people. The humans who once fought with fire and steel had become something deeper. Not conquerors. Not victims. Guardians. Guardians. The final message from Earth echoed gently across space. We remember the past. We forgive the fear. But we will never forget who we are. Stars held their breath. And the Zarn, for the first time in their history, turned away without a command, without a word. They had come to reclaim Earth. But what they found was that Earth had already claimed itself.